thank you for signing on to our video series. My name is JF. I'm a specialist in design, development, and teaching test automation frameworks. Specializing using Java with Selenium WebDriver when developing automation frameworks. In my career of 10 years, I've been developing complex Java applications and sophisticated automation scripts, also for the last 2 years teaching the Test Automation Bootcamp program at SQA Solution, with over 100 people graduating from the training I provided, most of whom are successfully using the skills they learn in their day-to-day work. Our company, SQA Solution, staffs QA engineers to several companies, big and small, in the Bay Area and beyond. We talk a lot to hiring managers and know what technology stacks and must-know to land a job in QA. Therefore, we've designed this 6-week test automation course that costs around $3,000. We understand $3,000 is not a small amount, and even though you can pay this off probably after your first paycheck, you may still be hesitant to sign on for this right away. That's why we've developed a series of free videos for you guys to understand the quality of our instructions and to evaluate whether this is something you'll be interested in doing in the future. After watching these video lessons, you'll be able to start the path of changing your professional career, a career that will allow you to get a good paid salary, to become an expert in test automation, and to not do manual, routine, and boring work any longer. The topic of today's lesson is going to be leading UI testing tools. After you complete this video, not only will you know the leading UI testing tools, but also the importance of automating tests, as well as where to get the tools. And then we'll cover a hands-on project, which will cover creating an automated test using Selenium and Java. We'll also look at the path to take moving forward, and then leave you off with a homework assignment until the next course. So looking at the leading UI testing tools, let's look at some of the leading ones that are covered in the industry. Waytire is a set of Ruby libraries for automating tests written in the Ruby programming language. SOAP UI by SmartBear is a cross-platform functional testing tool designed to help automatically test APIs like SOAP and REST interfaces. Test Complete is an automated testing tool for the Windows platform. It allows you to record, script, and run GUI tests for applications built using languages such as .NET or C++. Ranorex allows you to automate desktop application tests, recording user interactions and playing them back. It is a popular commercial option in running automated GUI and web tests. Fraud Logic has a tool called Squish, which is developed by Fraud Logic. Fraud Logic has a tool called Squish, which is a GUI testing tool for various platform-specific applications, including native Windows and Mac applications. It allows tests to be scripted in languages such as JavaScript, Perl, Python, and Ruby. Eggplant is another GUI test automation tool for professional software applications enterprises. It tests applications developed in languages such as .NET, Java, and Flash. Appium is a library used to create automation tests for mobile devices. It's a good tool to look into once you've mastered the basics of using Selenium WebDriver with Java. Selenium WebDriver is the core library which we'll be covering to create automated tests for web applications. It's a very popular choice among testers and offers the ability to create tests which mimic the actions a user would take when interacting with a web application. JUnit is a simple unit testing framework to write repeatable tests in Java. JUnit is used for test-driven data development and is one of the standard testing frameworks for Java developers. NUnit is a unit testing framework for the .NET languages. It's created from JUnit for .NET developers to take advantage of .NET features. TestNG is a Java testing framework inspired by JUnit and NUnit, however more powerful and easier to use. TestNG is my preferred test unit framework, facilitating data-driven testing as well as out-of-the-box built-in reporting. This course will cover mostly TestNG. We also have an array of cloud testing services. These allow the user to be able to have certain services offered on a cloud basis. Gridlastic is used for tests created in Selenium and allows for cross-browser testing, basically like using Selenium Grid without the need for testing lab environment. Sauce Labs is another cross-browser Selenium mobile testing option with a wide range of features and robust user interface. It's my preferred choice to test all available environment options. CloudBees is mainly a continuous integration service, which also allows unit testing built into a cloud service. Now, what are the importance of automating tests? They facilitate rapid development within an agile environment. They allow frequent regression testing using dynamic data. Unlimited interactions of test case executions. Promotes structured documentation of test cases. Unique defect reporting based on various datasets. Increased bug reporting versus manual testing. And an organized approach creating productive tests. Where to get them? Once you have the library or the tool that you're using, you need to get to that library file. So you'll want to download the library jar file from the registering company's website to include it within your project. For example, the Selenium jar file can be found at seleniumhq.org/download. Alternatively, you can use a project management tool such as Maven to include the library as a dependency within a pom.xml file located in the project's root directory. With all that information given to you, let's look at a hands-on project and follow through with creating an automation test for a Craigslist project to search for a set of keywords. For the hands-on project for this lesson, we're going to cover creating automation tests for Craigslist. Based on a bunch of keywords, we're going to look for job postings that match that criteria. All right, so let's get started on looking at a checklist and what we want to make sure that we have installed. First, you want to make sure you have an older version of Firefox. That way for compatibility. Here's a link to where you can find old releases. I'm currently using version 43. You'll want to install JDK 7 on Oracle's website. If you follow that link, it'll take you to the archives for version 7. Currently, version 8 is the newest version. You also want to install Git. That's going to basically give you the Git software so that you can clone a repository on your local system. You also want to install Eclipse. I'm going to be working with the Mars release. Currently, Neon is the most current release, and you'll want to go to that link if you want to get a version of Mars. And finally, you'll want to clone the repository, which we're going to be covering throughout this lesson. So with making sure that you have all those items, also want to probably check documentation to make sure that you install everything correctly. And with the JDK 7, you also want to set your path variable. So make sure you set your path variable if you're going to be using on the command console when trying to execute your scripts. All right, so that all in place, we're going to go ahead and start Eclipse up. So you're going to want to go where you installed your Eclipse. I'm going to have Eclipse, it's on my directory. And then I'm going to go ahead and open Eclipse. Default, the workspace is inside your user directory. I would recommend that you maybe put it inside Dropbox as an extra version control if you're using just Git. But I'm going to leave where mine is. Now I'm also going to go ahead and go directly in that directory. So once I go into that directory, my workspace, I'll be able to right click there and start the bash shell right here, and I'm going to run the command git clone and then paste that URL of my repository so I can get the coding files to my system. it's going to be git clone https github.com/ and Craigslist project.git. Once you do have those files cloned into your workspace, you'll want to then import that project into Eclipse. So file import existing Maven project. Once in the workspace directory, it should recognize my project and then be able to import that. A quick overview of the actual project items. We have the README, which is going to contain information about the current project. POM file is going to include any dependency or any other libraries inside that POM. Most notably that we're using testng to be able to create our test. We're logging our information with log4j. Apache POI is going to be used in reading Excel documents. And there's another Apache POI. As opposed to the other one, this is the newer form of Microsoft Office documents. So we'll need that for reading Excel, newer version of Excel documents. And we have the Selenium, which is what we're using to drive the test. These are just setting up our sources and targets to be compliant with 1.7, as well as setting up test suites. Now these test suites don't actually all work if you try to run them. You have them over here because Firefox is the one that's enabled so that we can run this by default. If you'd want to run any of these specifically, you'd want to just be able to right click and then testng, or run as and then testng. And then you'll be able to run all your scripts using that specific browser. But you'll want to make the modification by looking inside of your basic auto test. And you'll want to make sure that you enable all these. Right now, there only is Firefox that is enabled to true. The other ones you'd want them to also be enabled to true, and then you'd want to select the test suite that you want to run. But because we'll be only executing them throughout just right-clicking and that specific test itself, and that's going to be the Craigslist test. So we're just going to want to right-click on that and run that as testng, and that should cover the test running properly. But let's go ahead and look at what we have here. Basically, we have a constructor. It's extending the basic auto test. So a lot of functionality is coming from that basic auto test, so that our test can generally have same pieces throughout different tests. So we can kind of really build that framework. Here we call the super constructor, and just that we're setting the base URL so that we can access the base URL anytime. Now our actually test resides in this method, which is annotated with @test annotation. Here's another method that we'll be talking about, and that kind of goes to the details of going to a certain page and searching there. But let's start up at the top. First, we have a variable keywords, and that's going to hold the QA automation keywords, and that's what we're going to be searching on Craigslist. Next, we have a variable. Notice that all these // are comments. That's just going to help you know what each line really does. Here we have another variable, string type, and we're going to set that to what the page title that we expected. Once we actually do a search on Craigslist, it brings us to a page, and I'll show you where that is. You'll see that the page title, it's basically, depending on what area you're creating your Craigslist test, we're using the SF Bay area, and then whatever keywords, and then it's going to end with hyphen Craigslist. This needs to match exactly to what the actual page title is. Later on down the line, we actually do get that title by calling this method of the driver class get title, and that's going to set it here so that the final line can assert that what the page that actually we got is what we expected to get. So that's where the expected title comes in. Here we call the method go to page and search for the keywords. So the keywords are being set as QA automation, so when this method is called, those keywords are being passed the method. So that kind of drives the test from being at that point to coming into this method. And that's where we actually say to go not only to the base URL, but we also want to go to that search directory. Then we actually go to the searching in jobs. That way results aren't for any sales on Craigslist, but just really those jobs. Then we actually locate the search field, and we find the element by the ID query. So let's go ahead and start looking at that real actual test. We're going to go to Craigslist. Now here, basically what I'm trying to say is you want to go into jobs directory, and here's where you're going to want to search. And if we right click on here, we say inspect element, you'll notice here that that field itself has an ID is equal to query. So that's where we're getting the attribute ID being set to query and using that information to be able to interact with that search field. Once we actually do enter in QA automation, we then will end up with a results page, and we're going to want to capture that number 55, as well as validate that we are on the page SF Bay Area jobs searching for QA automation on Craigslist. So see how the actual title is what our expected result should be. Our expected title should be. So here we have the expected title, SF Bay Area jobs. So we're validating on the assertion that that actual expected is correct, and that'll give us whether the test is a fail or pass scenario. And this is where we left off, where the query field is actually being gathered into the variable search field, which is of type web element, and that's going to be able to hold us access to accessing that field. So we'll call the method clear to clear out any of the content that might be there. Most likely, if you use something that automatically fills in or auto-completes your fields, you might have content in your field before you have a chance to type anything in, as well as the send keys we're going to use to send a different set of keys, and that's going to be the keywords, which is what we passed into the method, which is what we set by the keywords variable QA automation is the exact item we're searching for. And then we're going to submit the form field. That submit will actually mimic an enter key as the form is being entered. Then we'll control return back to where our method was called, and we'll get the number of results as a variable of type string, and that's going to represent the number of results that we see. And here we saw the 55. If we inspect that element, we'll notice that that is of type class range 2. And there's no other elements on the page that are of that type class, so we're safe to use that locators. So here, where we want to log, we're calling the get log to get the logger, calling the info method. As you're learning, you'll want to use the dot operator. The dot operator will allow you to see what available options you have. For example, the info and debug and error type of ways to send a message. And we're using information as just information on what the number of results we have and for that number of results, as we got that element from the range 2, and we did that by class. So we were able to capture the number of results into that string variable, and then we're able to log it as a number of results on the first page. So with all that being put in place, the actual test, we do that final assertion, I think we're okay to safely run this code now. So we're going to go ahead and run as, and do a 10 extend G test. Notice here it's setting up the Firefox driver. Now it's going to go to the base URL. Then from that base URL, the next thing that probably happens is that we go into that actual page. If we open up Firefox, we'll notice that that was all executed through Firefox. We actually close it and go ahead and run it again so that you can see that. Browser's being open. Go to the job section, search for QA automation, and if we look into our logs, I'm going to refresh that folder. And you'll notice I ran it twice, so I have that first execution at the top, and that second execution again, and that line with the number of results on first page for QA automation is 55. So that kind of symbolizes a basic run. If you want to take a screenshot, you do have that option as well. So here, let's just say that we got to that page with the results. Let's go ahead and take a screenshot. Use this in the dot operator. Take a screenshot. Let's give it a file name. Craigslist results. Now if we rerun it one more time, and now this time we're going to refresh that screenshots folder, and we should see that screenshots results image inside of there. So if we go inside the project itself, look at screenshots, and open up that photo, you'll notice that those are all the results. That we had on the page. It actually takes a screenshot of the whole web page, so you'll be able to see all of them in one screenshot. And that pretty much concludes the hands-on project. See if you could actually go ahead and what you can modify to get this working on a different site. At any point, if you want to see the available options for using the driver, which is probably what you want to first start off getting very comfortable with, that's going to be after the get driver method and using the dot operator and your available options there. Good luck and see you in the next class. Moving forward, I would like to recommend some books. Java for Testers by Mr. Alan J. Richardson would offer a good fundamental basis for knowing Java concepts for testers so that you can get an understanding of the core Java principles before covering the more advanced topics of using Selenium WebDriver. Selenium WebDriver Practical Guide by Satya Avasalera is a good book to show you the basics of using Selenium and how to get basic concepts covered. Test automation using Selenium WebDriver with Java covers more details on how to use Selenium WebDriver in more advanced settings. Selenium Testing Tools Cookbooks by Gunda Decha on Mesh is a good book in trying to focus on specifics when covering how to do something in detail using Selenium WebDriver. I'd also like to recommend the course Java Selenium Automation, the 6-week bootcamp. Finally, to leave you off with some homework, I'd like to see if you can create an automation test which searches job postings on monster.com. Please post your link to the solution on GitHub in the comment section below. Be sure to open a discussion for any pitfalls and challenges you face. During our next class, we'll reveal the correct implementation to this exercise. Thank you for watching our video lesson. In the next video, we'll look at using Java for test automation. We'll learn why it's important to know Java when developing automation tests. See you in the next video, and make sure to look out for our email.